It's time for this week's episode of Brandon's Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon's Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon's Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the U.S. Marines Marcher Academy's head baseball coach, Coach Michael Notebaert. How are you doing today?
Good, Brandon. Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college baseball?
Yeah, so growing up, I was always around baseball. My parents were really heavily involved in Little League. My father coached high school baseball and softball my whole years growing up and was around it all the time and just decided that I wanted to pursue either coaching or being an agent pretty early on, pretty like middle school. And then as I got into high school, I got to coach some little league stuff and help like my sister's teams and stuff like that. And it kind of got the bug as far as coaching was concerned. And, just kind of knew from there that I wanted to do something where I could help athletes at the next level.
What was it like going to college and playing baseball for 1 year?
Yeah, so I got to play the year at Ithaca, which was great. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, it's different because when you get to college, everybody can play, right? So you're pretty good in high school, then you get to college and you look around like, well, that guy's good, and well, that guy's good too, and it's pretty interesting. So I had a pretty good year on the JV team at Ithaca, but unfortunately, I didn't make the varsity after that. But Coach Val teach the baseball coaching class, and I got a chance to talk to him about some situational stuff and asked me to stay after class and started my coaching career that way. So it was fortunate that way.
What was that like, obviously, getting to start your coaching career at your alma mater?
Yeah, it was great. Coach Val is obviously a legend. So having him ask if I wanted to help out as a coach was really cool at the time, and it was interesting because it's the guys of your age and you're trying to help them, and obviously you're not on the team, so it's one of those things where you're trying to maneuver through it. But luckily I was a junior when I did it, and I was coaching the freshmen and sophomores on the JV team, so they didn't really know me from class and stuff like that, so they didn't know that I was only a junior until later in the year. So I had already built up a little bit of rapport, so they listened. But it was fantastic getting to talk to Coach Val and the other guys on the staff to learn some stuff.
What was that feeling like of getting to coach some of your teammates that also were on the team your first year?
I didn't coach those guys because they had moved. The guys that moved up, I played softball with a lot of the guys. So it was either the guys that moved up and played varsity, or we played softball together. So I didn't coach anybody that I actually played with, but I coached the guys that came in the year after, which was pretty good. It was a lot of fun because you got guys at Ithaca. It's just like here at the academy. You guys from all across the country, so you get to see different personalities and put guys together, which is pretty unique experience that not everybody that coaches college gets to do.
What was that feeling like for you to leave your alma mater to go into coaching at the U.S. Marine Marcher?
Yeah, so when I left Ithaca, Coach Val was really great and asked me if I wanted to get my master's and stay on as a grad assistant again. And I just couldn't do it at the time financially. So I left, and then I went into actually banking, and I was working coaching high school and working at Hobart College at home in Geneva, New York on per diem basis. So I was doing like event management and coaching high school baseball and softball at the time. And then a job opened up at the Merchant Marine Academy, and I was fortunate enough to work on a project with Sue Peterson Lubo, who was the AD here at the time, because the football team was coming over to Liberty League, and we worked on it. And then a job opened that was an ops job, and I applied for it. Another young man applied for it, and she liked me and the other kid. So what she did was she split the job because she needed a baseball coach. So she made me an assistant coach uh, to bring me on and gave me part of the responsibilities with the ops stuff, and then she gave the other ops stuff to the other guy and gave him like some equipment stuff. So that was pretty interesting, and just kind of a not what you know but who you know kind of thing, where she remembered my name, and I had done the project with her recently.
What was some of your roles as working in the operations side?
So on the ops side, I still do some of it. We do game day ops stuff here. So I used to do football ops, and now I'm doing basketball operations for the men's team. So we run the table. My team runs the table as far as like game clock, shot clock, substitutions, the video, the stream, all that's all of us on the team. So we oversee that on a day-to-day, me and my assistant coach. And then, that's pretty cool too, because you get to know the basketball players. And I get some of them in class because I teach self-defense here. So I get to talk to them in class about what they did on the court, which is, it makes it a little more personable. So they want to come to class. It makes it more fun.
Of course, how did it feel when you got promoted to become the head baseball coach?
That was great. Sue Peterson-Lubo made me the interim coach. We were on a hiring freeze in the government. So I was 24, and she said, we can't hire anybody. You're going to be the interim. We brought in a part-time guy on the NAFI scale who was awesome. John Delecki, who was my first assistant. He was a longtime head coach here on Long Island, has 500 wins at Glen Cove High School. So he was an awesome mentor my first couple of years. And then we had a really good run. I inherited Davey May. I didn't recruit him, but Davey May hit 13 home runs and stole 20 bags and, made us look a lot better than we were. So between him, Mike Bybee, and Doug Carter, we hit 30 home runs with those three guys. So we covered up a ton of mistakes that we made defensively and, pitching wise. We made it to the championship game in the Landmark Conference. And it was funny because the whole time they were introducing me as the interim head baseball coach. When we got to the championship game, we handed the lineup cards to the umpires, and in the Rich Marine Academy is led by head coach Mike Notebaert. The umpire we had 2 days earlier was like, "Hey, so you got the job?" And I was like, "News to me." So, and we started the game. We unfortunately lost the game. We beat Catholic in the first one, and then we lost out of the loser bracket coming out. So we had to beat them twice. We lost the second one, but it's kind of dumb luck again, where inherited some pretty good players, and they made me look better than maybe I was at that time, and got to keep the job.
What was that feeling like, obviously, in your first game, as you said, when you got the news that you became the head coach finally?
When I became the actual head coach or the interim?
Finally becoming the actual head coach.
That was pretty good. It was all right. That's pretty interesting. They named me that, or at least they think they're going to name me that. So we went right into the game, and it was a championship game. So it was fun to get out there. It was raining a little bit. So we're like, okay, guys, we got to figure out how to handle the ball, because this team bunts. And unfortunately, Catholic bunted 3 times, and I think it was the third. We fell down twice, and they scored 4 on 2 misplayed bunts, and they got a line drive hit out the center. My center fielder fell down and went for a triple instead of an out, and it wound up being a pretty long game. I think it was 10-4 or something like that. But other than that, it was a good feeling to be named the head coach, but it was a game I'll never forget because of the other side of it.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped build and build upon for the Marine Marcher?
Yeah, so we try and make this a family for the guys. We want guys to come here and be excited to be here. We want guys to come in and compete for jobs and do it in the right way. So we talk to guys a lot about making sure that they know they come here and their job isn't guaranteed. You're going to compete for your job. Even the returners know that, hey, we're bringing in guys and we're trying to go get guys that are just as good as you or better than you to push you so we can make this next step. So last year we were able to make a regional for the first time, and so we saw that paying off, and guys were competing, but they were pulling for each other. So we try and make sure that guys are doing stuff the right way and making sure that they are helping the younger guys go. So our second baseman, Timmy Chase, last year, he wasn't slated to be a starter. We had a kid that was going to play second base, and he wound up going out to sea, but Timmy didn't know he was going to go out to sea at the time. And Timmy was still telling the freshmen, because we're real unique here, where we only have our freshmen and our seniors during fall because of our sea time. So Timmy was taking the freshmen and saying, no, we don't do it that way. We do it this way. This is why coach is doing that. He's explaining to guys, and he's talking to guys that are competing for him for a job. And he hadn't been an everyday starter for us yet. And he wound up being the leader of the team, and he wound up having a heck of a year for us. Hit over 300. I think he made 3 errors total all last year. Was just steady Eddie the whole time, and it was awesome to see him in the leadership part of it, where he knew he was competing and he wasn't really the starter yet, but he still knew what the culture was. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure the guys are trying to help, even though they're competing at the same time.
Of course, with being a Marine Academy and being a service academy, what is that like? Obviously, having your athletes obviously having to go out on sea and not being able to play in the games and stuff.
Yeah, so it's unique here where the guys go out twice. They go out after freshman year and they then go out after sophomore year. So we don't play a lot of, obviously, summer baseball. But what we try and do is we try and give guys a plan so they can stay healthy and they can work out. So, we work with the kids to make sure that they have a plan available. So we can give them a written plan with actual weightlifting stuff. We can give them some body weight stuff. We can give them band stuff. And, they take the J bands out and stuff of that nature to make sure that, they stay in shape. We ask the kids, we're like, look, you're going out for 4 months the first time, and then the second time they go out for up to 8 months. We're like, look, you got to do something. And they wind up going out in pairs, and usually it's, an engine and a deck cadet. So somebody that drives the ship and then somebody that's in the engine room. And we try and pair the baseball guys together so they can play catch, they can be accountable with each other. And our guys really are on their own to do it. And it's really fantastic to see how mature our guys are and how they really want to get better, even though they're out at sea. And they're pushing each other, and they've got Instagram chats and all that stuff, and showing each other, well, I did this workout. What did you guys do? And they're doing Snapchats back and forth and pushing each other even while they're not out at sea. Excuse me.
Who are some of the teams that you face in your conference each week?
So we're in the Skyline Conference. We play St. Joe's, Long Island. We play St. Joe's, Brooklyn, SUNY Maritime, SUNY Farmingdale, SUNY Purchase. We have this weekend. We play Manhattanville, which is in Purchase, New York as well. We play Mount St. Vincent, Mount St. Mary's, Yeshiva, and us for the baseball. So there's 11 teams in the conference, and then, we have the top 6 make the playoffs. So 1 and 2 get a bye, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5, and then 1 and 2 get to go to the Final Four weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
What is that like? Obviously, being in a conference where you only play civilian schools.
Well, it's the lifestyle of the kids at the other campuses is different, but it's nice because when they come here, most of the guys are really respectful, and we do the alma mater after the game, and it's a unique experience to play a service academy, right? But all the guys in the league and all the players really do a good job of making sure that they're respectful and standing during all the stuff that we do. The national anthem's cool here. So, you bring guys in and they watch our guys do it, and a lot of the coaches say how nice it is to see the way we do things and how respectful it is. And it's nice because they come in not being as rigid or as structured as we are, but they just do it the way we ask them to do it. And it's always a respect thing with those when they come in.
Of course, do you also get to play those schools like Army, Navy, and Air Force?
We don't get to play Army, Navy, and Air Force. We do get to play Coast Guard. That's a big rival for us. So they're in New London. We get to play them once a year. We played them at home this year. That's the first time we played on campus. Since I've been the head coach, we've always played down in Florida. They got a new coach. He's doing a nice job. And he asked if we want to change it up and play on each other's campuses. So I said, yeah, that'd be great. Give the kids an experience. So we got to play them here this year. And then next year we go up to New London and play them.
What is that like, obviously, getting to play Coast Guard?
It's really interesting when you play those guys because they talk a lot up here. We have a bunch of Beat Coast Guard signs, and they have Beat KP signs all over the place up there. So it winds up being an emotional game, even though we're not in the same conference. So we try and talk to our guys about staying within ourselves, remembering it doesn't matter who we play, it matters what we're doing. So we try and make sure that we stay within ourselves and we play our game. We like to run, we like to hit and run, we like to put pressure on the other team, and trying not to worry too much about playing Coast Guard. It does give us a little bit of an advantage where we're playing like a playoff game in the middle of the season. So you have like that emotional stuff that you don't get usually until the end of the year. We have one of those in the middle of the year, which is nice for the guys because they have to control themselves. They have to calm themselves down, control their breathing, stuff like that during the game, which a lot of times you don't get until you're actually in playoff baseball. So it does help on the playoff side for us, I think.
How is it like, obviously, playing in the conference playoff bursts during your time?
It's always fun to play playoff baseball. It's always fun to be in the tournament. You never want to be the first team out. So, our first goal when I first took over, when we were in our infancy stage of trying to turn the culture over, was we want to get there. We got there, and then we're like, okay, we don't want to be first out. And now every time we're there, we're like, okay, we want to win this thing. How do we get there? So, last year we were fortunate; we had really good pitching, and they carried us through. So, but it's always you're there, and you never want to be the first out. But now the guys are like, they saw what it was, and now they're like, Coach, we got to get back. That was fun. So that's what we're doing.
Of course, in the 2021 season last year, what was that like going to the NCAA regionals?
That was unbelievable. We had never done that in school history. So, we got to play with some really good programs. We got to play in the same region as Portland State. We got to play Tufts. We got to play Keystone, which was an amazing game. We were down 6 in the 8th and came back and won that game. So that's something that these kids will never forget, and I'll never forget as a coach. And those guys are perennials, right? They're always there. You got to see how Portland conducts themselves, and Coach Brown does an awesome job. And he came down and played us again at home this year, so we got to see him again when they were number 1 in the country early on. So you get to see how other guys are doing business, and you get to see that, hey, guys, those guys are human. You can play them, you can stay with them, and you can get some wins against those guys. And it was a really good experience for the guys, and even better experience for the program, where now we can say, hey, guys, we saw them. They're very, very good, but you guys can play with them. And we'll be okay.
What was that experience like for you as head coach?
Just being there was pretty cool. I had a really good conversation with the Swarthmore coach afterward. He was like, hey, how was it? And I was like, it was pretty interesting. You get there and you're like, okay, Portland's here, Tufts is here, Eastern Connecticut's here. All these guys, Eastern Connecticut's coming in with 50 home runs, and you're like, oh gosh, how are we going to stop these guys? How are you going to keep the ball in the park? And then you play them, and you get a great pitching performance from Joe Rabb, and you wind up winning 2-1, and you're like, oh wow, we're pretty good too. So, you get to have a situation where you get to sit back and really be in awe of some of the stuff that your guys do. Like Joey Rabb, who was our ace last year, pitched against Eastern, beat them 2-1, and then he was training to be a Navy SEAL. So we were a little short on pitching, and we brought him back on 2 days rest against Tufts in the semifinal game, and he pitched fantastic. And if we hadn't had, unfortunately, our outfielder slip it right, and then the guy slipped the next pitch in center, we'd probably get out of an inning. Instead of giving up 4, we'd probably only give up 1, maybe 2. And it's a different scenario where we're not chasing the whole time, and we don't lose 7-6. Maybe it's 2-0 instead of 4-0 at that time, and we get a chance to make something happen. But you really are in awe of just what your players can do and what they're doing at the time.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to go to U.S. Marcher?
Yeah, so we have a unique scenario where we have different parts to our application process. So we recruit just like everybody else. We're at Head First, we're at Show Ball, we're at the Navy camps and the Army camps and stuff like that. We're out trying to get the kids from across the country. We can recruit nationally, which is something that is really fun. You get to meet kids from different areas. Southern California kids different than a New York kid, or different from an Iowa kid. So it's really, really fun to be able to talk to people from across the country. And then our kids have to apply to the school just like any other school. But then there's a medical component with our stuff, which is their DOBMER physical, which is the Department of Defense medical. And then they have to get a congressional nomination. So they have to get a nomination from a senator or a congressman from their state. And they have to take a fitness test. So there's different layers to how we get in. But, we help guys through it and explain the different things. And, you really get to see how many kids are really excited about coming when you start having to jump through all these different hoops to go to a service academy. But again, it's really, really fun to be able to talk to kids. I'm taking Zoom calls at 10 o'clock at night because I'm talking to a kid in California. I'm taking phone calls at 6 in the evening, trying to juggle that and the 2 kids at home and my wife, and trying to make sure that we're talking to different kids. I get texted 2 in the morning. My wife's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a recruit from California. He doesn't realize it's not 11 o'clock here." So I don't usually I'm sleeping at that point, but sometimes I get a text, crazy one, I just answer them real quick, go back to sleep, and it's part of the fun of recruiting nationally.
Of course, with obviously that balance between recruiting nationally, what is that like, obviously, as you said, family life-wise?
Yeah, so I have a wonderful wife. She gets it. She really does a fantastic job with the kids. And, we have two children, one's 10, Andrew, and then Natalie's 5. So they're both in school now. And I try and make sure that I carve out the time so that I can be with them. And then I'll try and schedule Zoom calls for 9:30 at night so that the kids are in bed or Andrew's going to bed. And then I can get to back to the coaching stuff. So situation where I've gotten better at that since I started. I wasn't the best at it when I first was married, and and obviously when we had children, it changed a little bit more. So, but my wife Veronica, she's awesome. She does a great job with the kids and understands during recruiting and during the season, it's a little bit different. And she handles almost all of it for me, which is really, really nice.
Of course, as head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in these prospective student athletes when on the road?
So we look at academics heavily because obviously it's a very rigorous place to be. You got to be able to handle your academics here. So we're looking at academics first, and then we're looking at the baseball guys. And there's plenty of smart baseball kids. So there's enough guys to go around where we're looking at top tier education and guys that are going to good high schools and guys that are challenging themselves, taking AP classes, a lot of honors classes, and then at the same time can get it across the diamond. We got a kid coming here tomorrow from Pennsylvania that I'm really excited about, middle infielder that I think could really, really help us. And he goes to a top tier school. So it's nice to be able to again, be across the country with what you're doing, but you're always talking to a similar kid because it's academically challenging place and you're looking for the kids that want that.
Of course, what does the official visit look like for Marine Marcher?
So we don't do official visits a lot because we're Division III, but what we'll do is we'll bring a guy in and we want to show him everything, right? Plebe life, which is the freshman year, plebe life is difficult. You're up at 6, you're doing a cleaning station, you're having breakfast, you're going to class at 7:30, you're in class until about 4 o'clock. Then you come to baseball practice or we have a game, and then you got to study, and then lights are out at, depending on how well you manage your time, between 10:30 and 12 o'clock at night, and then you're back up at 6. So we try and bring a kid in. We try and pair him with a freshman for the day, or if he's staying overnight, pair him with a freshman so he can see just how rigorous this is. And then what we do is we try and have him talk to a senior or two when he's here, so he sees the bad part of it, right? He sees the tough life that the freshmen are living, but then he sees the light at the end of the tunnel that the seniors are doing. Where the seniors have 4 or 5 job offers in the maritime industry, or they're all locked up. They have their orders ready to go for going into the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, whatever branch you're going into, so they can see both sides of it. It's the beginning and then obviously close to the end. And it seems to work. We try and not hide anything. We want to make sure that the kids that are coming in, the prospective student athletes, get the information they want and they see everything. We try and make sure that we carve out time for mom and dad to answer questions for them, me and my staff, away from their son. And then we try and make sure that 100% the son gets to ask questions that maybe he's not comfortable asking in front of mom and dad. And then we'll bring them back together before they say goodbye and make sure that, every last question that anybody might have is answered. And, then hopefully we continue the recruitment process and we'll finish in the app and getting them in.
What is it like, obviously, as a head coach, seeing them get to try on that jersey and feel at home in that blue jersey?
Yeah, that part's really fun. You get to see, and I'm here long enough that everybody in the program, is my guy. So they come in and you're like, okay, how's this kid going to work? And sometimes they blossom and they're guys that you're like, holy cow, that guy's way better than I thought. Sometimes they're a little short where you thought they were going to be. But at the end of the day, these guys are all fantastic young men, and they're all getting to help out, either serving our country as an active duty service member, or they're getting to be in the maritime industry and they're doing something with bringing over, all the essentials we need, food to different countries, oil, whatever they're bringing over, so it's really, really cool to see these guys mature from coming in plebe summer to graduation day. And you're like, wow, that kid is changed 100%, but he's really ready to go. And it's just awesome feeling. It's kind of like, watching your own kids graduate by the time they get out here in 4 years, because we spend a lot of time with them.
What are some of your future plans for the program?
So future plans for the program, we got to continue to build up the success we had last year. We're trying to make our schedule conducive to being ready to play those top tier teams, right? We're trying to bring Portland State down. We're trying to bring Ithaca down next year. Union is coming down next year, which is nice. When we went to Florida, we got to play Eastern Connecticut again. We're trying to always play those top teams top 25, in the top 25. We got to play Bethel from Minnesota down in Florida, and they're getting top 25 votes in the coaches poll. So we're trying to make sure that we can compete with those top tier teams and hopefully get back to a region. And hopefully next time, not wind up in the semis, hopefully wind up in the championship or out in Iowa playing for the College World Series.
Of course, what advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college baseball players?
There's a place for almost everybody to play. Just make sure that you're pairing yourself up with where it's going to fit best for you, right? We always tell guys, baseball is not going to last forever, so you better make a decision that's going to work out. I didn't play 4 years, and it worked out for me because I got to start my coaching career. So there's always a reason that something happens, but always make sure you make a choice for a college based on where you want to be, what your major is, what you want to do when you get out of here, because when you get out, life starts. So, make sure you're talking and answering the questions and getting to the program that best fits you. Because if you want to play and you're working hard enough, there's probably a place for you to play if that's what you want to do.
What advice would you give those future college baseball players that are looking to determine whether to go to a Marine or military academy versus obviously going to a civilian academy?
Yeah, this is what they want to do. They want to get in front of, a service academy coach, email us, let us know, let me know. I have a lot of kids that reach out all the time. We don't have infinite, funding to be all across the country, but, the way things are now with recruiting services or even iPhones, if somebody's interested, take a video on your iPhone, send it over. I don't need to see a professionally done video. Mom and dad can sit there and you can take 15, 20 swings and you can throw, 15, 20 pitches and send me over a video from your iPhone. That's good enough. And then, we're at the Army camps, we're at the Navy camps, different show ball camps. You come up and say hi. We're excited to talk to everybody, and the more guys we can see, the better. So, the more they reach out, the better it is for us because, we can't see everybody. And I'm sure we've missed guys in the past that, we wish we had here.
What advice would you give those college baseball players looking to play professionally, whether it's the MLB or even going overseas and playing?
Yeah, if that's their goal, then they should chase it, and they should take steps towards it. Get in front of people that can help you. There's a lot of guys that know people. We play Wells College, whose coach is well tied in the Pecos League. My coach Lou Bernardi is well tied in the Frontier League. There's guys all over the place that you can get in front of, and there's somebody that can help you. If there's a goal there, get evaluated. Have somebody tell you where you're at. Be open to hearing honest communication. Don't be upset if you don't hear what you want to hear, but work on those things that people are telling you, because nobody wants to crush anybody's dream. Nobody wants to be mean. But if you want to play professional, there's some things you got to do. And if you're willing to put the work in, there's guys that can help.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in the industry of coaching at college baseball?
Trying to get into college baseball, there's a lot of guys that are trying to get in. There's only so many jobs, right? There's only 386 at the Division III level. There's only, 170 something at the Division I level. So, if you want to do it, get in front of guys, go talk to guys, introduce yourself. We had a guy that is a volunteer now. He was a very successful businessman, but he wanted to help out. So he stopped by last year during the COVID year, which was interesting. Say, hey, coach, I'd love to help. Paul Levy's his name. He's one of my volunteer assistants. I was like, coach, right now we can't because of the protocols and stuff, but, give me your number. We'll stay in touch. And he kept texting me during the year and was like, hey, I see your program's doing well. Good luck. Still want to talk to you. And then at the end of the year, I called him up, had a cup of coffee with him, and now he's helping. He's in a different situation where, he just wanted to be able to give back. He pitched at Virginia Tech, and he wanted to help some of the younger guys. And he's doing a fantastic job. So, you can be a young guy and doing that too. If you're, 22, 24, just got out of college, go see your local AD or your local coach. That's how I started at Hobart. I went over and saw some people that I knew at Hobart. It was in my hometown, and they introduced me to Mike Hanna, the athletic director. And, I just called Mike last week for some advice on some culture stuff on the team to make sure we're doing things the right way. And, in worst case scenario, they're going to say, hey, it's not going to work out. Best case scenario, you're going to wind up with a mentor that you can call when you're almost 40 years old like I am. So, I worked for a coach for a while and still takes my phone calls. which is great.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Marine Marchers Baseball Academy?
Yeah, so I personally don't have a lot of social media stuff, but you can email me. I'm on the USMMA website. It's notebaert@usmma.edu, or you can find all of our social media stuff. It's USMMA baseball at USMMA_baseball, for all of it. It's for Twitter, Instagram, and for Facebook. So it's all the handles the same at USMMA_baseball. So you can find us on all three different platforms and follow us.
Thank you again, Coach Michael Notebaert, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the U.S. Marine Marchers Academy as the head baseball coach.
Appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks for your time.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Michael Notebaert, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.